Hey there, how is business? Would you like to advertise with us at Mainland 98.3 FM, where you get to connect with a large base of passionate fans and ardent listeners of our broadcast? We have flexible and highly competitive advert rates to suit your needs by negotiation. Contact us today on 0913 6000 420, 0913 6000 420, or send an email to info@mainlandfm.com.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Good morning to you and thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time having an encounter with Mainland 98.3 FM, we're more than excited to have you join us. And for those of you who have become family of the station, we're super excited that you have chosen us and you have stayed with us for this long. My name is Sage Babalola. If what you're looking for is in-depth analysis, interesting conversations, up-to-date information about what's going on in and out of the country, then I can assure you all your needs will be met right here on Mainland 98.3 FM. And speaking on the need for information, happening right this very moment is trends in the papers. Just like the name indicates, what we are doing is looking at trending stories across the dailies, having conversations about them, giving you analysis, and definitely giving you an opportunity to tell us what you think about these stories, whether new or developing stories. My name once again is Sage Babalola, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. So, of course, join us and give us fuller conversation. This morning, we're joined virtually by Fuhad Saheed, and like I said before, he'll be giving us analysis and basically explanations into the stories that we would review this very morning. Fuhad, good morning to you. Thank you for standing by.
Good morning, Sage Babalola. How are you doing?
Why did you call my full name? Why? What did I do?
Don't worry, we'll get there. You know why I called you.
All right then. Good morning. Thank you so much for standing by. So we have the papers here with us: the Punch newspaper, Guardian, The Nation, and Vanguard. Last but not least, Vanguard. And we would open today's conversation by reviewing the Punch newspaper. No particular order, I can assure you. But let's start today's conversation with the Punch. The top story, as reported here, is board's dissolution. 2,000 vacancies open for APC faithful, Tinubu's allies. That is the headline. The writers to this particular story: 153 agencies, parastatals, others await board members' appointment. Don't sacrifice competence for political patronage, OPS tells President Tinubu. So now we have it reported here. President Bola Tinubu is set to fill no fewer than 2,000 vacant positions following Monday's dissolution of governing boards of over 153 agencies, parastatals, institutions, and government-owned companies. The president, who was gathered on Wednesday, would fill the position mostly with members of his party, the All Progressives Congress. So let's just have a quick look at some of the available positions that will be filled in by, should I say allegedly, by members of the APC according to the papers. So at this point here, we have notable among the slots to be filled at the Northern East Development Commission with 12 vacant board slots. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission with 7 board seats. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board with 7. Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria 21. Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund 12, National University Commission 21, Transmission Commission of Nigeria 14, and National Health Insurance Authority 12. There still is a lot, all right? I mean, these are two. Yes, so it's a lot, but we don't have the time to get through every single one. That's why I just gave you the first 5 or 6. So, Fuad, I know how you are about the way certain headlines are being presented, right? And you usually are quite very careful with choice of words and what have you. But what the paper has reported is what what they have reported. They're insinuating that these positions are to be filled by APC faithfuls and Tinubu's allies. And one of the writers says that do not allow political patronage to be the means through which you appoint people to fill this particular position, because the dissolution was mainly on the backdrop of these people were not performing, up to par, and so you want to put people that would actually do the job. And if the prerequisite for that is you are faithful to the party, or you played a significant role in the party, retaining power, that is all it requires for you to be appointed, then it might be a problem. Or Fuhad, what's your position on this?
All right, there are about 4 sides to this particular story.
Right.
The first one is, I think, the focus of the paper, which is, these positions are going to be filled on the basis of political patronage, and of course your contribution to the party. I agree with that position 100%.
Okay.
Because that is the way we run things here. Of course, if you understand why everyone out there, as a politician, is desperate for the presidency, this is the reason. That power, that influence, there's enough on the table to share. Enough on the table. And that's the reason for the destination. There's nothing more. Because there's enough to go around. The president, if I went to tell you that the Nigerian president is the most powerful president in the world, quote and unquote, I think you understand why now. There's enough on the table to throw around. So you see everybody moving around the president, everybody wants to become president and all of that. So I agree with the position of the paper that, look, most of these positions will be filled based majorly and basically on political patronage. There's a lot of jostle and hustle going on in Abuja, as you say. Reports have it that the hotels are fully booked. Not because these guys are interested in nation building or anything. It's about, look, what is available. A lot of them are political jobbers. And what are the jobs they are looking for? Yes, these are some of the jobs these guys are hanging around and hustling for in Abuja as we speak. Now, that is on one side. So like I said, if the paper is taking it from the position, I agree, because that's the reality. Now, the second part is that, look, I'm going to do something, Sage. We'll help our listeners by dropping a list of all of these parastatals and agencies.
Okay.
On our social media page for them to go and review.
Right.
And they see the long list of agencies and parastatals, Sage, almost doing the same thing.
Right, the replication across all the
just
agencies.
A duplication of, you see boards, you see agencies, parastatals almost doing the same thing. And the second part of this particular story for me would be that, look, we need to press it on the new president, President Bola Tinubu, to, as a matter of urgency, again, on the basis of cutting cost of governance, just up the Orosoya report that talks about merging agencies and parastatals and commissions who do similar things for sake of prudence and reduction in cost of governance. The Orosoya report already made serious recommendations about agencies, parastatals, and commissions that can be merged for us to properly reduce the cost of governance. But like I said, there are really no direction yet from this government on how to cut the cost of governance. We've not really, at the same way, we've not heard anything about from them, this particular government, on what they'll be doing to alleviate the sufferings of Nigeria from subsidy relief.
Well, I have this for you. I have this for you.
That's what, that was the big one. I thought that was going to be
finish. I wanted us to get through all the other stories so we have time. Go ahead, please.
So again, on that basis, we are not getting enough from the government. But I think the Orosoya report already addresses how we can fix this problem of duplication of duty and all of that. The third one for me, Sage, is the issue of devolution of power. That, look, again, we need to wither down the powers of the president. There are too many things clustered on the table of the president, put on the table of the president, and that is why a lot of times there's not enough supervision on the performance of these boards of agencies and parastatals and commissions. There's too much that is on the table of the president, and that's why there's not so much supervision. There are no KPIs, there are no deliverables. These guys are board members who just trade, do all manner of things without proper supervision. Look, that was why the immediate past president did not attend to board composition for a lot of parastatals and agencies. In fact, a lot of the boards were never attended to. He did not even bother to fix them because I guess he felt that, look, there were too many things for him to deal with that to attend to that. So we should talk about proper devolution of power in a way where we take some things away from the exclusive list and just put them on the concurrent and residual list so that, we allow the president concentrate on bigger issues. So what I'm saying is that we need to look at the residual, so the exclusive list again, and take some powers off the president for proper supervision and performance. And then of course the last one for me is that look, these positions are going to be filled. Yes, people are going to get these board positions and all of that. There will be a lot of hustlers. But again, I don't think anything will change really from the board composition of one of these agencies and power state are saying. It's just going to be the same of the same. So for me again, it comes to the issue of, do we want to continue like this or we want a different direction? It's too early to say because again we are not getting so much from this government on what new direction they're actually going when it comes to governance.
Right, thank you very much, Fuhad. Please be aware that we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you would like to participate via our social media handles or our streaming platforms, check Mainland 98.3 FM on Facebook and YouTube, and you can definitely see everything going on here. Fuhad did say that we would be posting, the list of all these agencies and parastatals so that you can compare and contrast and come up with your own analysis. So we would post it on our social media handle, probably on Instagram, or across all our social media handles, Mainland 98.3 FM. Just check us and then you can get all the information that you need, as we're unable to get through every single one on the radio this moment. Now, moving on, you can get more information on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, by the way. Still on page 2, the headline, Labour fumes as RMFAC hikes politicians' salaries. A very interesting story, and this is me thinking of the most, pleasant word to use as we are on radio. Let me read to you this particular story. Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission has recommended an upward review in the basic salaries of political and judicial office holders. The chairman of the commission, Alhaji Muhammad Shehu, who represented RMAFC Commission from Kebbi State, disclosed on Tuesday in Benin, Kebbi, during the presentation of the reviewed remuneration package of political and judicial office holders. Now, commenting on the proposed salary increase, the organized labor described it as provocative because of fuel subsidy removal pain that Nigerians were still going through. Basically, Fuad, this information broke, and I don't think there's anything that has caused people to react as aggressively as this before. As much as this, let me take away the word aggressively, as much as this before, because I did go through a lot of public comments. So the recommendation by the RMFAC is that a 114% increase should be made to the remuneration and emolument of, should I say, public office holders. Let's call them public office holders at this time. And a lot of things have been considered. Of course, from the reactions, a lot of things have been considered. If this is implemented, by the way, federal legislators will earn about 2 million naira monthly and about 25 million naira for running cost of the office. All right, those are two different payments, by the way. Your take-home salary at the end of the month as a federal legislator, if this is implemented, will be 2 million monthly, 25 million for running cost of office. The president would also earn about 8.1 million monthly if this is implemented. And now a lot of things have been considered. They're listed here in the papers. Although the RMAFC is saying that in defense of this decision that we have made, we haven't done anything like this in 16 years. 16 years is a long time. I mean, we have to increase their salary. They've made a lot of sacrifices in running the nation, so it's only right that we give them, a payment that justifies the work they've done so far. Now, are the things that are being considered as the labor is reacting to this proposed increase. They have referenced, first things first, the 24 billion that was, that is being considered for the 10th National Assembly.
Housing allowance.
Exactly. And they're talking about the state's debts, the amount of money that certain states owes, as 10 of the poorest states were listed just last week. They're talking about the minimum wage that is still 30,000 naira and has not been implemented in many states. In fact, pensions are still being owed to certain individuals. individuals. They referenced the Moribund refineries, 7.5% VAT on diesel. That also was spoken about yesterday. The removal of fuel subsidy. Electricity tariff is going to go up by July. The unemployment rate that is at 39% and would most likely be 44% if nothing is done by the end of year. 133 million people living below poverty line, and of course the overtaxed formal sector that we have, amongst other things. Fuad, I will just ask you outrightly. Actually, I don't even know the right question to ask. Help me, Fuad. Help me.
All right. Now, I'm going to do another recommendation to our listeners this morning. And it's a very simple one. I came across this particular poem, I think in 1997. Yes, as far back as 1997. And I've kept it in my head. But somehow, I think about a month or two ago, because of the reality of Nigeria at this time, I was looking for the poem. I did not even remember the title, the poet that wrote it, and all of that. But to the glory of God, this morning, when this news broke yesterday, I was able to get the poem again. Because, we are now in a situation where politicians are telling Nigerians to bear the pain, endure the time.
Short term.
And all of that. And the poem is simple. The title of the poem is Building the Nation. Building the Nation. Our listeners can quickly Google it. And it's written by Christopher H.M. Barlow. He's an Ugandan poet. Building the Nation, Christopher H.M. Barlow. It talks directly to our situation as a people today. Say it. And that's the title of the poem, Building the Nation. It's a poem of a particular public official and his driver. The driver representing the ordinary people, and the public official representing our politicians. Again, when you Google the poem and you want an analysis to what the poem is, poem requires literature review. I might drop a link, of a complete explanation of what the poem says. But I think the poem is quite easy and self-explanatory. So again, you can quickly Google that if you're interested in reading what I mean by, this particular poem reflecting what we are facing as a people. So this is the reality. I think for sake of proper analysis, let's put it straight. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission attends to the salaries and wages of public officials, politicians, political appointees, judges, any public official who is appointed, MAFASC attends to that. Now, when it comes to civil servants, there is a wages and salaries commission that attends to that. If you understand what I'm saying.
I'm with you, Fuad.
And look, if you remember, the RMAFASC have always been telling us that there's a need to review the salaries of public officials. So it's not a new thing. We've reviewed it severally on this program, where they have been arguing that I think the last time they did a review of allowances and salaries of public officials was, I think, 2008, and that it was overdue for them to have a review.
Yes.
But the big question is this. Just yesterday, we reviewed that, look, for housing allowance alone, 24 billion naira have been set aside for our National Assembly. So that is just for the National Assembly. And it's just for housing allowance. There are other allowances that we are not even talking about. We are just talking of housing allowance, and a whooping 24 billion naira have been set aside. We are not talking about salary. We are not talking about other things that comes to bear. We are not even talking about some of the things we see and we don't see that goes to them. The reality is this, say, I've always said it, that look, this government seems to be running very fast about policies and programs, about reforms and all of that. But I'm surprised at the same speed they are throwing these policies at Nigerians and telling us to bear the brunt and pain. We are not seeing the same speed in terms of them announcing to us what they will be doing in terms of cutting the cost of governance. Because it is good that look, the government seems to be doing so many things at the same time. And all of them, whether we like it or not, putting serious and direct pain on ordinary Nigerians. And we are being told to bear the consequences, that the future is bright. Okay, we agree. But one will think that, look, the same government will speedily begin to tell Nigerians what they plan to do in terms of cutting down the cost of governance. What they plan to do to also alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians. Like I said yesterday, up till today, there's nothing on the table for ordinary Nigerians in terms of whether it is palliative or what they want to do to cushion the effect of this subsidy removal and other things. Look, as we speak, you did a long list saying these things are going to have serious direct consequences on the living standard of already impoverished Nigerians. As we speak, more than 133 million Nigerians are faced with multi-dimensional poverty. Multi-dimensional poverty as we speak. And you know, we keep throwing everything at them. And what you hear is that there's a consensus among the political class. See, and I don't blame them. They don't even regard us. Would you blame them? They don't even care about us. There's that consensus, irrespective of the political party, that look, Nigerians don't matter. Just throw it at them, they will accept it, they will suck it in, and you begin to see the apologies of government continue to praise these decisions. Rub it on your faces. Say, we are, and that's why I say that, look, the reality is that Nigerians will find a way to take care of themselves. Look, there's a backtrack now. The director that issued the statement, that made the statement in Kebbi, said it, and I know that it's already in the works, maybe waiting some final approval. You know, the PRO of RMEFC is saying that he was not aware of anything.
He wasn't aware that they're working on it, but no particular percentage has been agreed upon.
The man that spoke is a director in the RMFAC.
So how would the PRO not know?
How would the PRO not know? And then, of course, you have the Absol Villa, the presidency also saying they are not aware of anything and all of that. But the reality is that we know these things. These things have been on the table. I'm sure that God just wanted Nigerians to know. That was why I put it in the mouth of the man in Kebbi State, because he was not sent to go and say that in Kebbi. You know, but again, it is the reality of Nigeria. We are all building the nation. That's what the poem tells me again.
Fuhad.
But we are building it in different ways.
Fuhad.
Other Nigerians are building it with pain. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, please. I'm just curious. You probably might not know, but you're the only person I can ask. Where exactly are we going to get the money to pay increase? Because I know that we have a budget deficit at the moment, running into billions. So I don't understand where exactly are we supposed to get the money to make these payments?
I'll answer you straight. I said it again, that the economic policy outlook of this government, and anybody can take me on that, is to make more money available to the government. You've cut out subsidy, so automatically the idea is to get more money available to the government. You have just read a long list of things that are geared towards making more money available to the government. Okay, what about electricity tariffs that are going to go up?
Yes.
At the 1st of July, because again, it takes away subsidy from electricity.
Yes.
Okay, we're also talking about floating the naira.
Yes.
So it also makes more money available. So we are talking about a lot of reforms that the government is doing.
Yeah.
There's also VAT.
Yes.
7.5% on diesel. So automatically, the policy outlook of this government is to make more money available to the government and take away more money from the people, with the promise that the government will deliver for the people in terms of health, infrastructure, and a better life for tomorrow. But the question is that, can we trust a government that has not even shown any example that they are ready to cut the cost of governance, that they are ready to also bear the same pain that ordinary Nigerians are bearing at this time? That's the big question. So the money will be made up. Look, say, let me tell you something. Even if there's no money at all, the politicians will always do what they want to do. They will put their hands in the cooking jar. They are going to deplete our resources. Look, whether beg, steal, or borrow, the politicians will take care of themselves. It is the other Nigerians that will be made to suffer. And it has always been the fact. And like I said, they don't regard us. They don't care about us. It's not even their problem, because we have never been proactive. We don't engage enough. We don't advocate enough. We don't talk about it enough. On the other side, you have praise singers, megalomaniacs of the government who continue to praise them and continue to do. The reality is that, look, we are all in it together. And that's why I say, if you have the time, go read the poem. It's called Building the Nation. It tells you exactly the situation of Nigeria at this time.
Well, thank you very much. Well, that's it. You can check page 2 of the Punch newspaper if you want more details on that particular story. Please be aware that we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. We are on social media as well at Mainland 98.3. That's on Twitter and on Instagram as well. And I'm saying this because, like Fuhad said, we're going to be posting some of these information on our social media pages so that you can go and check the figures.
I want to post the poem.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. So if you want information information on that, go to our social media so you can have access to it. It's at Mainland 98.3 FM. Moving forward, now we have another headline here. We're still reviewing the Punch newspaper, by the way. This is Trends in the Papers. For those of you just joining us, we're having a look at the stories that have been reported on the front pages of our dailies, and at this moment we're looking at the Punch newspaper. Sage Babalola is my name, and Fuhad Saheed is definitely here giving analysis to these stories. We have this headline here: DSS combs Bawa's Abuja home, extends probe to associates. Now, operatives of the Department of State Services have conducted a search of the Abuja home and office of suspended chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdurrashid Bawa. President Bola Tinubu had on June 14 suspended Bawa as EFCC chairman indefinitely, following which the DSS picked him up. He's currently being held in the custody of the DSS Yellow House Abuja and is probed for alleged financial impropriety as EFCC helmsman. Now, a search has been done. First things first, the search was done at his office. They also said the search was done at his Gwarumpa home in Abuja in the presence of his wife and his children. Well, as it stands right now, even his associates are being called in for questioning. Although the DSS is yet to charge him to court, they're still carrying out investigation, hoping to get enough evidence to help the case. But aside from Abdurrashid Bawa, information has been reported by the paper is that even his associates are also being invited for questioning to explain how certain amount of money, well, financial, should I say, mismanagement, basically, how a lot of money was being spent and how the record and how the books are not necessarily balanced and what have you. Hefty allegation. So Fuhad, are you in a way pleased with the way this particular case is being handled? Because I know that you don't necessarily appreciate that arrests are made before investigations are carried out, but are you in a largely confident that this will yield something positive if Abdurrashid Bawa is found guilty, punished, and then his associates are also found guilty and punished, and if not, they should be let go?
You know the irony of life is, this was the same Abdurrashid Bawa that flagrantly disobeyed court rulings and orders. I think about 3 cases of contempt of court was brought against him. So look at the irony of life now that we now have to speak for him. Talking about the rule of law and the right to protect his rights and all of that. The same man that, when he was the EFCC boss, was just disobeying court orders. And to the extent that about 2 or 3 times, he was dragged to the court for cases of contempt of court. But again, we have to be process driven. We are a country governed by law. We have to always act within the ambit of the law. I also say that whatever the DSS is doing, again, I say that it must be done within the framework of what the law says. We should not be a people of the movement, like by Sabakari said when he was on political roundtable last time, where we just go with right and disregard the rule of law. If we are a democracy, we must always respect the rule of law in whatever we do. So I will appeal again that, look, there's nothing wrong with investigating if he has case to on, although I'm not a fan of arresting before investigation.
Yeah.
But that's the pattern. I think that's just the way we like to do our things here in the country. I always say, over there in other crimes, when the police or the secret service
when
knock
they
at
come
your
for
door,
you, they have all their facts.
I think the moment they knock at your door,
just know
don't carry. I'm sure that within the next 12 hours or something, you are ready before the judge, and answering to your cases and all. But again, it is what it is. I just hope that his right to be well protected. And we have, if he has any case, like I said about the Mayfield too, let's wait till when maybe if there's any case against them, they will appear in court themselves. They are Nigerians and they must be accorded their fundamental human rights.
Right. Page 8 of the Punch newspaper is where details of that particular story is. We're still on page 8, but the headline reads, Egbetokun plans technology-driven policing officers' welfare. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, on Wednesday assumed office at the force headquarters Abuja, noting that policing under his watch will be technology-driven, just as he promised improved welfare for policemen. Wednesday marked the formal exit of Usman Baba as the IG, who handed over to Tokun at the ceremony held at Lewis Edet House for the force headquarters in Abuja. So there's a change of guard. Well, there's been a lot of change of guards in the last couple of days, but then we have a different person as the IG. Kayode Egbetokwan is saying technology is what will be deployed. As you know, many security experts have said that maybe it's not just focusing on the people in the force. How about employing the use of technology, drones, to aid intelligence gathering so that execution of whatever duty they have would be a cinch or would be seamless at the end of the day. So do we have the provisions for a system of security that can accommodate technology? Do we have the resources? And when I say resources, I mean financial resources, and also it would involve having to train personnel on how to use these technological innovations. How long do you think it's going to take before we go through the training process, acquisition of this equipment, what have you, and then implementation before we start to see results? Are you somewhat optimistic about the system he's choosing to adopt?
Well, if we make it a priority, everything will fall in line. The money will be made available, the training will be done. It's just about prioritizing these things, And I've always said it, that look, security in the 21st century has gone beyond putting AK-47 in the hands of people.
Yes.
If you understand what I'm saying,
yes.
Just having more police officers recruited and you put AK-47 in their hand and then you find them in the back of a vehicle and then they keep running around the streets and all of that. Look, you go to any of the developed societies, any of the developed countries in the world, say, it's more of you having cameras hidden and open. You see cameras everywhere, and that's why you commit a crime within 24 hours, your details are out there.
Right.
What are we doing in terms of forensic analysis?
Database.
How are we able to, fingerprints? You go to a crime scene, how are we able to get fingerprints, do a forensic analysis, and all of that? I can tell you, commit a crime in any of the advanced societies, within 24 hours, if you are not arrested, your details is out there immediately. So I understand the idea of technology, but are we ready? Do we have the personnel? Are we ready to make it a priority? Say, I looked through the list of the last 10 IGs. And that's why I said that, look, it's not about the personnel or the individual now. Because the most that an IG spends in office as IG is about 4 years. I think most, the longest, I did the analysis of the last 10 IGs. I think the only one that spent 4 years was during the Buhari era. Mostly it's always 2-3 years before they retire. In fact, there are even insinuations that this current IG may not spend more than 1 year or maximum 2 years because of his age. No, because of his age and all of that. So it's not about the individual now. It's about the institution and the reforms that must come with it. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's about making it a priority. And so, look, we need to be realistic about the police. I talked about what I can call the low-hanging fruit that can come as a quick win for this new IG. The first is to even rebrand the police, the image. I agree that, look, you have to look at the product before you brand.
Right.
But again, sometimes you have to brand along with the product so that people begin to have a different perception of the Nigerian police.
Right.
And it starts with even the naming of their police stations. This idea of Elewero, Oloson, Alakara, Yago.
It's for inclusion. Why? It's for inclusion. So that everybody
the PR part of me, the branding part of me, it does not just fit into, having names of, so it's in there fancy, Elewero.
Even do. I understand you.
You don't understand?
Yes.
If they say they are taking you to fancy, how do you feel?
For me, I mean, not good there. Maybe if I was going to do interview. But I'm not going there.
So they are actually low-hanging fruit that our IG can quickly just use for quick win, because I know it doesn't have the luxury of time.
Right.
The I and all of that. Hello, say.
Okay, yes, we're back now. We lost you here for a few seconds. Yes. Page 8 of the Punch newspaper is where you get details of this particular story. We're still talking about state of security in the country. Unfortunately, this is not exciting news, as terrorists set 11 residents' church ablaze in Plateau. Suspected terrorists have invaded Chiso village in the Mangu local government area of Plateau State, with 11 persons burnt to death in the Tuesday night attack. A resident of Chisu community, Michael Bulos, who escaped the attack, confirmed the death of the villagers to Punch in Jos on Wednesday. The victims were said to have run to a house belonging to a community leader in the village for safety after they heard sporadic gunshots in the community around 11 p.m. The assailants pursued them to the place and set the house on fire. Fuhad, again and again, every single day we have information about people dying, attacks happening, broad daylight. This is even at night. It was happening at 11 p.m. But regardless, and the fact that I don't know where the temerity really comes from, because I don't think that anybody would launch an attack of this gravity if they had a fear of repercussion. But then I do not understand the temerity with which these attacks happen, and it's always so consecutive. Like, they're not afraid that, okay, what if there are security operatives there because of our recent attack? They just go there, do what they want, and it's not like they're even abducting these people for ransom. They're outrightly killing them. So I'm trying to understand what gratification they get when they launch these attacks. Fuad.
When people are purely anarchists, people just want to cause anarchy. There's always a reason that they will always put forward. It might be ethnic sentiment, it could be religious sentiment, it could be monetary or financial sentiment. There's always an excuse for anybody that wants to cause anarchy, to perpetrate crimes. But it's now for the state, and that's why you have a government. And that's why the first duty of any government is to protect the lives and properties of the people. Every other thing is secondary. The primary responsibility of any government is to what? Protect the lives and properties of the people. Because you will always find anarchists, terrorists, people like this in the society. But the government has what it takes. It's supposed to create a framework to deal with what we are seeing in Plateau State. I think we need to declare a state of emergency, not political state of emergency now, in terms of securing the people of Plateau State. There seems to be, the killings are being reported almost on a daily basis. And as you have just said, the motive is not even there. Whether it is elders, farmer crashes, and all of that. There seems to be something about the killing going on in Plateau State that we need to dig into. I'm sure maybe Okoyemi would dig further into these killings in Plateau State in the situation room.
Right.
So that we have a complete idea of what is actually happening. It's becoming too much.
Fuad.
And again, this is a big one also for the new president. We have an IG that said he feels like a lion and a tiger.
Yeah, he's ready to unleash.
And we have new service chiefs that people are hailing. They are praising that they are, going to be able to deliver. But this is a challenge for them. Until we begin to see a resolution of crisis like this, until we read the papers for months, for years, without having to review stories of killing, all of these appointments for me are too early for celebration. Until we see a change in the pattern of security of lives and properties in the country, say that look, still the same thing that is happening, and then we can only beg the president and the new services and the IG to dig the needful to secure Nigerians everywhere they find themselves.
Right, and unfortunately, Ondo State is also here in the papers, and the headline is "Residents Panic as Bandits Reign of Terror Returns to Ondo Local Government." They just recently celebrated commemorated I feel so bad saying commemorated the incident that happened, that led to the death of over 40 people. That's the Owo massacre, and security agencies are saying they're on top of it. But unfortunately, in recent weeks, criminal strangers seem to have found their way back to the Sunshine State to unleash terror on the people, especially dwellers of some communities in Ose local government area of the state. And in the last 2 months, many people in the area have been killed, while some kidnapped, although some lucky kidnapped victims were released after the payment of ransom. I don't understand why it's in some selected states. Again, please, I know that insecurity is a nationwide thing, but I don't know if I'm the only one that is realizing that there's just some selected states that they never get any form of respite from kidnapping and terrorist attack. It is always, every single week you review the paper, there's something going on in that state, and it really bits me as to why they have continued to enjoy that privilege of reigning terror with nothing done. I mean, they've done it time and again. So I don't know if tightening security in those states has become so much of a problem that they have successfully been able to reign terror on these states for so long. It's sad.
Well, see, you can. I talked about personnel reform, change the service chiefs, bringing a new IG, bringing everything new. Another thing that we should also talk about and make an agenda for the government is the willpower to do the right thing, punish people. You just said something that is valid. You asked a very valid question just now. Say, this reign of terror has been ongoing. It has been consistent. But how many punishments have we seen? How many people are being prosecuted? Are we seeing people being sent to jail? Are we seeing people getting capital punishment for what they have been doing to people? If you understand what I'm saying.
I'm with you, Fuhad.
So the question is, look, let us even say that, look, our security personnel are able to do the needful, get these people arrested and all of that. What about the willpower of the government to get people prosecuted and punished for committing this crime? Have we not been found wanting in really punishing people? Look, people have always questioned this reintegration program for Boko Haram.
Right. Repentant Boko Haram members. I don't know what that is.
The only by which the last government was doing that program, that look, there are people who are terrorists and they are repented and they are being reintegrated, they are being trained, and people ask, what signal would that send to other people who want to commit similar crime?
Right.
That look, you can commit a crime, get away with it, so far you say you are repented, the government will forgive you and reintegrate you into the society. And you know, if you understand the issue of sleeper cell, that look, there are even security experts who question that policy. That look, these so-called Boko Haram repentance or bandit repentance, they are not actually sleeper cells for the main cell in the bush. Because it's easy for you to come and say, I'm repentant, but meanwhile you're actually feeding the main cell with information as a sleeper cell. So again, the government must show the desire, the willingness, the willpower to punish the people, whoever they may be. Look, we have senior Islamic clerics in the north speaking, serving as spokesperson for bandits. They have not been called to question. They've not been prosecuted. I'll never forget Sheikh Gumi. Sheikh Gumi practically turned himself as a spokesperson to terrorists and bandits in the north without any consequence.
Right.
Those are the things the government must address. The willpower to punish people, start with things that no, it will never be tolerated again by what they do in terms of punishment and all of that. If that happens, I'm sorry, nothing is going to change.
Thank you very much, Fuhad. Because of our time, that's it for the Punch newspaper. Actually, the other headline: hearing continues in Dezani's case on forfeited assets. I don't think we would ever see an end to this, honestly. Makinde elevates Ladoja. Makinde elevates Ladoja, 10 other Ibadan high chiefs to Oba. That's it for the Punch newspaper. You're still listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We just reviewed the Punch newspaper, and now we're moving to the Nation newspaper. A majority of the stories are replicated across all the other papers, so not to worry, we will get through every single important information. At the top story on the front page of the Nation: student loan plan sparks controversy in universities. ASU Konua, parents take different positions. Policy due to begin in September. Very briefly, labor centers in the universities are divided over student loan policy initiated by federal government due to begin in September. The policy has further deepened the division between the Congress of Nigeria University Academics Konua and the Academic Staff Union of University. Konua is in support of the policy, and ASU has described it as discriminatory against poor parents, but parents are backing the federal government's plan. Because of our time, Fuhad, here, if you know, Konua's birth first place really was as a result of the scuffle or scuttle that was going on between the federal government and ASU at the time when there was that 8-month strike, and Konua was registered. They were supposed to obey the government, quote and unquote. And with this plan, this student loan plan, Konua seems to be in support of the plan, but ASU still thinks that there are a lot of gray areas that needs to be rectified. They're not even in support of the student loan, but parents seem to think that it's a great idea. Maybe it's because they don't understand all the terms and agreements that come with it. We never can tell, but ASU is the only one as at now, according to this report, that is not exactly aligning themselves with the student loan policy. So do you think that ASU's concerns are very, very, very valid rather, and Konua needs to do maybe a little more digging to understand why there's been a lot of resistance on the part of ASU as a sister education body of some kind?
Well, whether ASU or Konua, they have a right to take different positions on these student loans. I think the position of ASU is very clear. And their position is that, look, they were not really consulted before these decisions were made. And as a major stakeholder in the tertiary education system in Nigeria, they should have been a major part of the conversation on how this student loan thing will be implemented. And they also raised the question about tuition fees.
Yes,
that, look, we've done something. Yeah, we've done something like this before. You know, the Ali must go protest in the 70s came as a result of a student loan, and then the government increasing tuition fees of students, and then it became a problem. Now, I hope we are not doing the same path again. Look, Stage, when this loan thing was announced, I've actually done my own analysis. And again, it's not to force my opinion on anybody about this student loan thing, but just to get us thinking as a member of the 4th state of the realm. The program is going to start in September, Abi?
Yes, September.
When we get to the bridge, we'll cross it. When we get to September and the implementation starts, we'll start to talk about it.
All right. Thank you so very much, Fuhad. You're really helping me manage the time. And we have another headline here. This is on the front page. The story is on the front page, continues on page 5. And we have here, discourse raked in 247 billion naira in the first quarter. Now, electricity distribution companies raked in 247.33 billion as revenue in the first quarter of this year. The figure, according to the Bureau of Statistics, is an improvement on the 232.32 billion that companies collected in the fourth quarter of last year. Again, because of our time, apparently, whilst the rest of the world is recording losses in their business, Disco seems to be making a lot of money, which begs the question: what exactly is now the need to, make electricity as expensive as it is billed to become? If you're making money, it's not like we can understand if you increase the price because there's a revenue shortfall, but you seem to be making money. So, what exactly is the increase for?
They want to make more money, simple. But make more money providing what exactly? What quality of service?
Quality of service,
to Nigeria.
right.
You see, it's not a problem making more money. I always talk about the telecommunication sector. Even though I still have questions about their own quality of service too, and the way they charge Nigerians, especially when it comes to data usage and all of that. But we can all agree that to a great extent, the telecoms companies still provide some level of quality service to Nigerians. But again, you put it on the other side, flip it to the energy sector, the power sector, the distribution company. What level of investment are they putting in the distribution channels as far as electricity distribution is concerned? What quality of service are they giving to Nigerians? If Nigerians get quality service, I'm sure they will not complain about payment.
Of course.
So the only problem is that, look, yes, they are declaring profit now, making money, but to what end? What exactly are they giving to Nigerians in terms of service? That's the question for me. We can't be paying for darkness. But most Nigerians are. Look, all of this estimated billing is practically paying humongous money for darkness.
Anyways, you can get more information on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. We have another headline here: Ogbe to government, state police would end insecurity. We might not be able to get through the entire story, but basically we have information here that the fact that there's this ECOWAS deal that Nigeria currently signed, one that allowed a free grazing, even from states outside now, countries outside Nigeria are allowed to bring in their cattle or their herds to Nigeria to graze. And Ogbe is of the opinion that particular policy is one of the biggest problems that we have with insecurity, because some of the herders that come from Mali and other neighboring countries, they take it upon themselves to attack our local farmers because they want to have access to their land, and allow me to use the colloquial term, they want to basically their land, and because of that they start to kill the local farmer to claim their lands. And that is also why we have a non-ending or a never-ending state of insecurity in the country. Do you agree with this, that maybe we should start reviewing the deals that we have signed with other countries and allowing them free access into the country if we're serious about dealing with insecurity?
You see, Sage, we keep talking about these herders farmers clashes, and I must say that the last government, the immediate past government, did not do enough to resolve that crisis. I think they took too much side on the part of the herders, and that's why a lot of people felt that they needed to call out the immediate past president, who had some clannish position on that particular issue. He was not very emphatic. There was this issue of Ruga, grazing routes, and all of that. So you had a Malami and all of this. The reality is this: I'll do this very fast. If you take a look, just go do a Google Earth look of Africa. Concentrate on Nigeria towards the Sahel Savannah, the Sahara Desert. the issue of desertification is clear. It's a major environmental concern, global environmental concern. The entire Sahara Desert is already encroaching into Nigeria. And what it has done is that, look, most of the northern part of the country is now desertified. There's really no grazing plant anywhere in the north. So the next place for herders to move to is the north central area. If you look at it, the desertification is very clear. You see that red sand, all from the Sahara Desert, encroaching already to most parts of the north. So for herders who want to graze, what they do is to move to the north central area, and that's nature. Now, what do the north central guys do? What is their major occupation? They are farmers. And then now look at people who want to graze their cattle. Right. There's no way they are not going to clash with farmers. And that's why there's this conversation about the fact that, look, the idea of nomadic movement, herders moving around, has to stop.
Yeah, and ranching maybe.
Because so that's why can't you go into ranching and all of these kinds of things? But the last government was not committed to that idea. Maybe for their own ethnic sentiments or whatever, nobody knows. But the reality is that, look, current X-Men roaming around, this nomadic life that is known with others is not sustainable again. We have to look at another alternative if we really want to stop this problem between farmers and herders. And again, a big challenge for this new government to also look into.
Right. Thank you very much, Fuhad, for your analysis. There are other headlines on the front page of the Vanguard, but when we come back for Mainland Focus, is Open Mic Thursday, I'll just read to you these headlines so that you can be aware. And if you want to put it in your analysis whilst you're contributing on Mainland Focus, you definitely have the liberty to do so. Fuhad, thank you so very much for your analysis. We're going to go on a quick break. Like I said, 8:40 we'll be back for Mainland Focus. It's Open Mic Thursday, which means that you get to choose whatever focus you like. My name is Babalola, and this is Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't go anywhere.